It's all very well talking about the luxury of more space, but what happens in your own games when you get less space, when you get trapped in a cramped position? This is going to crop up quite a lot, especially with black, and more than likely when you're playing a skilled white opponent. The advantage of the first move in chess really does mean something, and in the hands of good players, they can quite often put you under pressure with sharp opening lines, and maybe you'll find yourself in a cramped position from time to time. What should you do then? Well, all the considerations we've touched on when talking about defence apply here. Patience is the key. The eye for counterplay is so important. Economy, when lacking in space, is very important too. Look to exchange pieces and seek to fight back at the earliest possible opportunity. All these things are important, and gain some space of your own, of course. An active plan, I would say, is crucial, and fighting back. This is the philosophy I want to put across to you. It's very important not just to sit there in chess and be meek. Don't just take it. You've got to go for counterplay and give it back. Now, in the following game I'm going to show you, which comes from the Las Palmas Open in 2005, it's a game between a guy called Abel Díaz and Daniel Ortega. In this game, black seems to get a cramped position out of the opening. Okay, this is the Sicilian defence, and black plays the Taimanov variation, knight c6, named after the famous Russian grandmaster Mark Taimanov. White immediately goes ahead and establishes an advantage in space with the help of threats such as knight d6 check. Black takes away that idea, but now white gets a bind on the centre with c4. The idea is that these two pawns cramp back a little bit and stop him from breaking free. This is called the Maróczy Bind, again named after a famous Hungarian grandmaster. Well, it doesn't seem to matter to black that he's operating with 3 ranks to 4. He pushes the white knight back to what looks like an uncomfortable square on a3, and then just continues patiently with development, not making things worse, just seeking to get his pieces out on 3 rows. Castles, and now a remarkable move in its own way, knight to b8. You wouldn't think that after the knight had come to c6, black would be able to play that knight to b8 so early. But this move is based on concrete considerations. Firstly, black is attacking the pawn on e4, so he does have some active plan in mind. And when white plays f3 to defend the pawn, black immediately regroups with knight bd7. Now the knight on d7 has more perspectives than the knight on c6, and is eyeing up 2 active squares on c5 and e5. Moreover, white is in no position to attack black immediately, and well, white is being asked to find a good plan, which Diaz tries to do by playing his queen to c2, black castles, and now rook fd1. Rook comes to c8, rook d2, queen c7, and now rook to c1. Well, by using any normal positional yardstick, you would have to say that white is slightly better. The question is, where does he go from here? Black has no weaknesses. He's quite happy in 3 rows. The pieces have just enough room to manoeuvre. And importantly, black has an active plan. Black has the choice of no less than 3 active plans in this position. The first 2 are concerned with pawn breaks. In order to free himself in a position like this, black would very much like to be able to play either b5 or d5 at the right moment. But Ortega shows us a 3rd string to black's bow in this game, and one which makes the black position very interesting and attractive indeed. Black, believe it or not, can think about outright kingside attack in this position. However unlikely this may seem, I ask you to cast your eye over the remaining moves and see what you think. Again, black seems to be doing nothing. He plays queen b8. Importantly, black is making his position highly secure. He's not making things worse. White plays queen to d1. He can't quite think of what to do. But anyway, for the time being, white is nailing this bishop to the spot. Black plays king h8. This seems like a nothing move, which white answers in kind with rook king h1. But now comes the interesting move, rook g8. And it turns out that in the midst of what seems like a passive position, black is actually getting ready for g5. And now we see the deep point having forced f3 all those moves ago. The move g5 and then g4 gets to grips with white's pawn structure, forces a pawn lever, enables black to open the game, and then with good timing, hopefully, black can launch a winning kingside attack. Very important in this position that we've got white pieces here sitting on the queen side doing nothing, just watching the show. What do? Well, the onus is very much on white to find a counter to this plan. Diaz tries knight c2, black just goes straight through with g5, and now white plays knight a4. It seems as though white has counterplay by attacking b6. This doesn't seem to bother black at all, and he goes straight through with g4, after which white tries to move in for the kill with bishop f4. He thinks he sees a weakness on d6. Black takes on f3 and plays another remarkable move here, queen a8. I think black is thinking about sacrificing a piece on e4. For instance, if white goes bishop d6 in this position, I wonder whether black can't go knight takes e4 straight away. And it's remarkable how quick the black attack is. If bishop takes e7, knight f2, believe it or not, is checkmate. Going back to bishop d6, knight takes e4. If f takes e4, bishop takes e4 check. And again, this is a disaster for white. So going back to queen a8, the sack on e4 is very real, and this is why white plays knight e1. He's covering the f3 square one more time. But again, black is able to move in with bishop takes e4. Who would believe that black would be able to launch such an active, aggressive scheme from what looked like a very cramped position? It really is quite a remarkable turnaround. Well, white played bishop takes d6. Of course, he can't take on e4 there because his bishop on f4 would hang. Black trades on d6, and now black brings his bishop back to c6. Having weakened the white central position, black moves back, hits the knight on a4, and prepares knight e5. White brings his knight back to the defence, and now a very standard idea by black, just bringing the last piece, the last passive piece, into the attack. Rook c g8. So now the threat to white's king is very real indeed. Knight comes to f4, hoping to prepare to put the knight to defensive duty. Knight to g4, threatening checkmate on f2, which white defends himself against with queen f1. Knight e5. Now there's a significant weakness on e4, on f3 to defend, which white can only find rook takes c6 to play against. Of course, this can only be a temporary solution. Of course, the bishop was very strong there. It can only be temporary because when black takes on c6, not only does black have the attack now, he's material ahead. White was hoping that knight e4 would bail him out. No such luck, as f5 continues to batter away at white's position. Of course, white's problem is he's defending, he's got no counterplay. We see these themes coming through all the time in these games. Knight drops back to g3 to cover the g file. Knight f6. Another one joins the party. Knight eg4. Again, this is very horrible for white to have to defend himself against. He tries knight h5. Off comes the knight. And now rook comes into g5. And seeing no counterplay and being significant amounts of material behind, white decided to resign this position. It will be child's play for black to penetrate on the g file. So that was a very good illustration by black on how to break free of what looked like a seemingly cramped position. To repeat, when you're cramped, look for active counterplay. At every stage, seek to gain some space yourself, if this is possible. Be patient, be alert to any chance that comes your way. If you follow this formula, you can defend cramped positions successfully.